All right, good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me, and welcome to the Monday Morning Open. How's everyone doing? Hopefully all is well. And let's go ahead and get settled here and get ready for the opening bell. The NASDAQ is up 60 points. All things are up and up, including all y'all's Dogecoin out there. Good morning, Stevie B. Good morning to our members. We are live streaming on our YouTube channel and here in the Simpler Futures room. And I've got you into the opening 2 hours. So my first goal is to understand the first 15 minutes of the morning. Let's not be a sucker to a really nasty move within 15 minutes of the market opening. I really do want to buy a pullback down to 860. We may not get that chance, but also, 13,900 is something that I'd also buy too if we did gap up a little bit. So let's just see what the market has for us. This could be, so my thoughts for last week, pertaining really around just this week on Wednesday and Thursday, is maybe that we would push higher into 14,000, and then once again Wednesday or Thursday I'm leaving open to be a little bit more choppy or negative. So I'm keeping an eye on that. Definitely keeping an eye on that. Let's see what time it is. We have 5 minutes for the bell. If you have any questions, let me know. So what we do typically for the first 15 minutes is just watch the market. I'm going to be going through gold, silver, a little bit of crypto with you. I know that that's certainly just needs to be included into the picture. Not specific to Bitcoin futures, but certainly like paying attention to that kind of stuff. Looking at other influencers around the markets, so TLT, and I think it's just a good time to brush through all the different things while we come up with a picture for the morning. Good morning, AZ. Good to see you. Stevie B. Good morning, Debbie. Mark H. Morning, Lorna. Good to see you. Mike and Maybach. Always a pleasure. Lynn from Chicago. Dr. Nutmeg. Man, Dr. Nutmeg, it's been a minute. Good to see you. So everything should be good. And I did not catch the overnight move, just for the record. I did not. I have stayed away from overnight. If I don't get filled on my limit orders to the super low side, then I just, I won't chase it and I won't really engage too much. But it leaves me open for a nice morning trade here. Let's see what happens to the S&Ps. Let's move this over. So specifically for me, what I do is I trade options, and I've been trading options for 10 years, and I really complement my small accounts with micro futures. So you'll always see a /MES for the S&P or an MNQ for the NASDAQ, and M2K for the Russell. And then there's some other micros there that I'm doing some case study. I call it case study, but really it's just kind of trading and getting to know the instrument. And there are some new futures out there. And then of course now you can have, you'll be able to trade SPX options 24/7, which is interesting. And we'll see how that goes. I'm very interested in doing some of that. And then also I like crude. So yeah, exactly, Waterman. I have that up on another monitor here. I think I like gold to the short side, but I like crude right now. Here's /CL for you. And it's had a pretty awesome move if you consider the 730 to 8. And it's also continued to, look at this daily chart on the far right hand side of your screen. It's been choppy, but if you compare it to January and February and March, it's making its way back into 67, and I think we're getting there. I think we're on our way. So let's see what the opening bell looks like. Looks like we have 2 minutes, and I'm going to head over to the give me 1 second. Everybody take a collective sip of coffee to bring in the new week and the new morning. A collective coffee to bring in the new week, the new morning. And I'm getting to some comments on the YouTube page here. Good morning, Jennifer. Every other Monday, Rick. There you go. Getting to some comments on the YouTube page. Good to see you, AC. Do I see a potential pullback in the S&Ps? Yes, I do. I don't know if we get it today. I'm thinking Wednesday or Thursday. All right, and we're off. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If you are just now joining the Simpler Trading YouTube stream, or if you are in the gold room, we are looking to buy a really massive pullback. I'm not of the crowd that I don't think we're going to get it. So my next spot to be buying this is right around 880 or 890. We've actually done this before. It's almost verbatim for the last week that I did this. So we've had a lot of ups and downs. Right now it seems a little bit quiet. So let me go ahead and get my trading dome up here. Gold is getting a nice bid, GLD. And then we'll go ahead and throw on the idea for futures. So this is my very, very simple Tastyworks platform. So it's very easy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing 4 micro futures contracts. Okay. And I'm a little conservative on entry, especially within the first 15 minutes of the market. So I'll kind of see if we can get this pullback, but essentially what I'm going to be trying to do here is buying the 13,880s. But if we get down there here within the next 2 or 3 minutes, we're going to just pause and see where that takes us, because I don't want to be involved too much within the first 15 minutes of this market. I'm waiting for a pullback. And right now, just because I think we're only about 0.5%. Yeah, only about 0.40%. 50 points higher on the NASDAQ. And those ticks they're not, okay. So whenever I see ticks like this on the left-hand side and the VIX futures somewhat going higher, this to me is not bullish. So you have 1,100, 1,400 ticks, and the market's actually going sideways to down. So let's keep an eye on this. We'll also take a look at the put-call ratio right now. As it stands, it's 0.4, so we're again starting out with a lower reading. We have red 10x bars. Those of y'all that are not part of the Simpler crew just yet, we have 2 indicators on my screen that are very helpful and the keystone of some of my trading here. So the 10x bars and Squeeze Pro, I'm sure you've already heard of it before. When is SPX 24-hour trading coming? I don't have a specific date. Let me look that up real quick. I think that is worth looking at. SPX options 24 hours. And I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I don't think it had been fully announced. Hey, Yus, good to see you. Yeah, I think it's actually at the end of the year, and I don't remember, even after looking for it. I don't think there's a specific date just yet. If you found it, great. So like I said, this morning is not extremely bullish to me. Whenever I saw those positive ticks, and not breaking through 13,920 just yet. Let's see what these squeezes say about it. So we have a micro squeeze, red 10x bars on the 1 and the 5. If you're looking at my charts for the first time, don't let it complicate you. In fact, let me describe it. It's very easy. So I want all these time frames to line up, whether I'm bullish or whether I'm bearish. In other words, I want red 10x bars if I'm trying to sell the market or if I'm trying to be short, which recently we're not trying to be short the market, not for very long at least. And 9 times out of 10, I'm not shorting the market anyway. I'm buying the dip. This is a buyable market, and it's going to continue to be until I have a different sign or, something drastic happens, which, it's been a wild year and I'm trying to stay nimble. I think that the message to the new trader or anyone trading micro futures is being stuck in a short position for too long can be, it sounds dark, but an automatic death sentence really. Because, what do we have at the end of the day? We have the grind higher. What do we have in the mid-market morning, 10:30 to 11? We can be trading up another 70 points from there. So let's see what shakes out. This is an interesting and quiet morning, but let's see. Let's get past these first 15 minutes. So we have about 10 minutes left before I want to think about doing anything. And like I said, this is not extremely bullish from where we've started. And it makes sense to go to another chart that I don't mind sharing with you. And going into here and looking at our previous pivot points. And I typically just default use the micro NASDAQ. So that's why you'll always see MNQ up on my charts. And then where are we now? We're at 13,892. And we're right above this initial balance right here, trading almost exactly where we were Friday midday. Okay, so the question is are we going to, kind of sell off and stay kind of weak here below 13,900? And that's sort of what it looks like, which is okay. I want to buy it at a certain point at 13,860. Let's see how it goes. Good to see you, JG. Amen, amen. Yes. Rob, how's it going? Gerald? Hey, Bob. Happy Monday to you. Happy Monday to everybody. Hope everyone's having a wonderful morning and you had a good weekend. It's time to hit it, and it's time to stay nimble, and it's time to understand where we are in the markets. And right now, it makes sense to do a pullback before we push higher. So we didn't gap up. We're not trading around 14,000. We're almost back to even for the morning. So let's give this market about 10 more minutes. And hopefully what we can get is, crossing my fingers here, perfect entry down at 13,840 to buy this thing. That would just be fantastic. It'd be great. That's what I want. I don't always get what I want. That's life. But that's the best case scenario for me. So let's pull back to neutral territory for the markets, and then let's buy this thing. And we have some incomplete larger moves to the upside. So that's what I'm also waiting to fill as well. So I'm not buying into those Wednesdays and Thursdays that are weak, especially whenever we're at the end of day, a lot of the time grinding higher. And I know that was the main idea for last week, Thursday, and a little bit of the close on Friday. We ended up just trading back to the mean on Friday. So I really like the idea. If you're holding long-term long positions, I think this is a great environment to be doing that. Good to see you, Debbie and Stevie B. Okay, awesome. Hey, Neil, good to see you, my friend. Good morning, Tobin. Okay, Oleg, you have a question around the DJIA up to 3,400. What do I think in this regard? Well, I don't need to really look at a chart to answer the question. You won't really hear a lot of bearish sentiment from me in this market. And I think part of that comes from, I think a lot of traders start out as being contrarians, trying to short the market whenever you really shouldn't be. You should really be waiting for a pullback. Let me pull up this. There we go. So slightly positive ticks, but not bringing us much higher. Like I said, I'm going to be trying to buy this at 840 or 860. Let's see what happens right here. This is why I always give the Monday morning and pretty much every morning 15 minutes to bring us to where we are. And for anyone that scalps the market or scalps the Monday morning open, I get it. I think it's a little risky, but I certainly understand why you would do that. There's a good trade there, and I think there's enough volatility. You just don't want to be, if it's a short, you don't want to be involved with that for too long. Have a conservative target and get in and get out. So 13,860 is the top of the range from Friday. And that's also right below this little right above this consolidation area. And I'm just looking at this gold line right here at 13,860. 13,854 is the official reading. I really want this to come down to 840. And I'm okay with waiting on an opportunity to be long. What I don't want to do is just jump into a short to be short. Yeah, so hey Thomas, good to see you. Thanks for being here. So these are all initial balance pivot lines. Looks like semiconductor ETF is doing okay. I was thinking about some long positions in semiconductors. And until we get to the 845 mark, so let's give this 3 minutes. I just want to run through the market with you real quick. I think it's important to, while you're trading futures, to be looking at things that would be shaping the environment, which would be Amazon. Let's see what Apple's doing. See, Amazon's down, Apple's up, Microsoft. Okay, it's neutral. TLT, I don't mind being long TLT. It's just going to be a little bit more long term. And it's only Monday, so I don't have, I'm not in a hurry to jump into this just yet. Let's take a look at GLD. I think GLD is probably, yeah, that's a gap up. I'll watch that one. Okay, so we're holding 860. I'm going to go ahead and get my limit orders ready and open just in case we go, once we start getting below 860, we'll bring our order down to 840 or 830 depending on how fast we get that. But right now my entry is looking like it's going to be 13,860, and I'll go ahead and put that limit order in there for 4 micro futures contracts, and we're going to have a conservative 20 or 30 point target back into 13,900 or even sorry, not 13,900. 13,880 and 13,900. But if we can clear that and get above 13,900, I feel bad for anyone that's shorting the market. Like I said, I'm not trying to be involved in a short. I'm trying to buy the pullback. And once we hop into a more bearish, obviously bearish market, we'll consider the same. Like, we will definitely open up and see if we can short the market. We're just not there right now. We're just not there. And so what we do is we stick with what works. And what works is being patient and finding a dip to buy. Just like all you Dogecoiners, right? You just buy the dip. One Doge equals one Doge, right? I'm sorry. I think it's hilarious, and I also am deeply entertained by all the memes and the community there. It's a developing story. And I did a little research. It didn't take long, really, just a few YouTube videos, right, on how Dogecoin is inflationary, but not inflationary to the point where it's, you know, where we're just printing Doge. There's actually a really interesting economical, mathematical formula behind it, which is really great. So basically, it's like I guess the inflation rate starts to, you know, it starts out at 5% and then starts to, you know, taper off by 1% every 5 years. To where, yes, I mean, they're adding millions every day of Doge, but over time, I think it starts to even out and it becomes deflationary. And a reminder to myself, for sure, I probably need to, you know, I'd like to just come up and write out a whole presentation on how you can tell that some of these cryptos, even though they seem inflationary, they're actually deflationary. Okay, great. So check this out. So I got filled at 13,860 on those 4 micros. So let me go ahead and just post this out in our simpler futures room. And anyone paying attention on the Simpler Trading YouTube channel, you can see this here. I got filled on 4 at 13,860. And this is what I wanted to buy, okay? So if you're doing something in the S&Ps, obviously 4192 or 4193 looks solid. And I'm going to have a pretty conservative stop here. So if I'm in something around 860, I'll typically do 30 or 40 point stops on 3 contracts. But right now, I think let this trade, if it really needs to, I'll have to sit here and go, okay, well, if we're not going to break through 860 to the upside, 830 or 840 could be your personal entry. You know, let me take the hit for you, and you can wait and sit this one out at 860 and look for 840 or 830. It makes sense to go down to 840 or 830. That was my, you know, best case scenario buy. But sometimes we don't get it, and it can be quite annoying to have the correct directional bias, to be patient, to have the setup, and then it makes sense just to go down to 845. And you know, you don't have to do anything right now. Wait for this thing to trade down to 840, 830, and then you'll be set as well. Now, I wish I would have been paying attention in that microsecond where we did dip below 860, because I would have watched it and probably gotten in at around 840 or 830 if we can get it. But we tried this 2 weeks ago whenever I was opening us up for the Monday morning, and I was 1 point, or I think a quarter of a point away from getting filled for my long, which would have eventually worked out just with flying colors. And I think some of y'all took it, but I ended up not getting filled, so super big bummer there. Is SPCE taking off? Let me see. No. Yeah, and I don't really see anything on SPCE unless it has something like an hourly squeeze, which I doubt because it's Monday. But yeah. So the market is kind of quiet. It's a lot quieter than I thought it would be. It makes sense that we would pull back to where we typically pull back. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to, let's see. I'm going to test my memory here, but I'm 100% certain that the last time that I was live broadcasting, which was 2 weeks ago on the YouTube channel and here, we were actually exactly at 13,860. And it makes sense to go down to 840 and 850. I'm starting to bump up my micro futures up to 4 contracts instead of 3. In this market, I believe that over time, my data is showing me that I'm totally capable of continuing to trade profitably on 4 micros. I just might need to lower my expectations for, typically I want a 30 or 40 point move. I want to catch that move. And I think 3 contracts is great for anyone that's starting out trading micro futures. It is the perfect way to start jumping into futures contracts without the, the buying power of a regular E-mini or the buying power of a regular S&P E-mini. So micro futures are 1/10 the size of E-minis, and they're easily tradable, and you can always just trade 1 or 2 contracts just to get your feet wet and just to see what it feels like. And I think it's good training. I think it's good for a lot of reasons. I believe it's just a personal theory of mine that if you're a good futures trader, you're probably an awesome options trader. So because you understand how quick things can be taken away from you, and then also understanding that the importance of letting your winner run, right? So what I wanted to do was buy the lows, and overall I want my winner to run, right? Trading back into 13,900 and giving the morning highs a decent chance of going higher. And you're not going to really hear me talk too bearishly on this market, especially on a Monday morning. So right now, yes, we're in a trade. Let me go ahead and post this out just because we're still right there. So give me 2 seconds. I'll be as quick as I can. And just to have it officially up here, because I really like this trade. And hey, anything can go against me. I'm the first one to tell you that. But I just really like the buy side on the Monday morning on the lows. This is where I didn't get filled 2 weeks ago. This is where I am filled now, and I think it's going to work just perfectly. Hey, Glenn, good to see you. Good for, yeah, the question, both. And we'll get into my charts here in a second. Okay, so my first target for this NASDAQ buy that I'm in at 13,860, I'm looking for 13,900. I'm going to be a little bit aggressive. And I honestly don't think that's too aggressive. I think it's slightly outside of my range, which is about 30 points, like I said. But I think so far so good. So let's just let it run. Target 2 is going to be 13,920. And then target 3. Oh, and I need to tell you my stop loss, since we're in at 13,860. I don't think we trade below 830. Anything could happen, but I'll just go ahead and put 825 because I don't want to get stopped out if we just go down to 830 and kiss it. But I just don't see it happening now, but anything can happen. And then my third target here, so if we can break through 13,900, 916, and then 946. Yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and say 916, and then 13,948 for a third target with a stop loss at 13,825. Buying the morning dip. And then for all my YouTube family here, So buying at 13,860, target of 13,900. That's a first one. It doesn't mean I'm taking anything off. It's just a checkpoint. 13,916 is target 2. 13,948 way up there, which really isn't way up there if you know this market. I just, I think that would be I'd be super happy with that trade. We might take some off at 920 or anywhere above 920. Let's go back to my flex grid and we can see the market is perking up just a little bit, not too much. Let's go back to this setup right here. And there we go. So what are we doing? We're buying the dip, right? So this is what we've done. A lot of y'all in the futures room, maybe you got filled at 850, 10 points better than me. But so far so good, right? So far so good. Everybody cooking with gas here. So Jennifer, yeah, targets easily back into 920 if we start to trade above 900 here. Trying to look for any other signs that I see. I'm typically looking at the put call ratio, the VIX, and then I think it's a good idea. I lost my train of thought here. Okay, so we're looking pretty good, right? This is 4 contracts. We bought the morning dip. Anyone in the futures room, if you're following along, did anyone get filled at 850? I'm just curious. And Glenn, we'll go through my workspace here shortly. Okay, so most of y'all are 855. Yeah, I saw that just quickly dip right back down to 855, and I was thinking we'd maybe get 850 or 840, but we're fine with this, and 13,900 is pretty close. So all right, looks like I'm all caught up on the Simpler Trading YouTube. Thanks for being here. Welcome to the Simpler family. I'm here to shorten your learning curve and help you make some money at the same time. And it's my joy to do it with you. I love what I do, so it makes it even better. Hey, good to see you, Jack. That seemed to be a nice double bottom on the VWAP. Yep. Yeah, so I'm in. You can see my 4 contracts here at 13,860. Let's go back to my charts. I'm going to move this up on a different monitor so I can just be watching that. So I know that the market is back into 13,900. We'll do a quick exploration on some commodities just very briefly here. I just want to keep track with everything that's happening. And really, there's not much happening. I'm sitting here looking at the indexes, the Qs, half a point change, SLVs. I mean, gold and silver are doing great. Hey, Martin, good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. Samir asks, why did I pick the 860 level to buy? One, it's not exactly lined up with a perfect pivot point right here. It's actually like right above 850. So 850 would have just been fantastic, but I didn't want this market to run away with me or without me. And granted, I mean, 850 was certainly in the area. But 860 is where I was trying to get filled last time, and I'm comfortable with 860. I know that that's kind of a, we're either going back into 13,900 or we'll start to press down to about 830. But right now, we're just floating. So I wanted to get filled, but not at the expense of, going lower and not getting filled. So 860 it's my sweet spot. And it was based on this line right here, this blue line. And then right down here, this gold line. So anywhere in between there, I was looking for the lowest possible area. And I'm glad I wasn't asking for 840. I mean, I tried to do that last time and it just didn't work out because the lowest we traded was 850 or 855, which, by the way, I'm seeing a lot of our members here in the group chat that y'all are in at 50, 52. Yeah, so there you go. And not too much to worry about. Now, on a Monday morning on 4 contracts, you're like, hey, I have a small account, $130 within, I mean, $200 about 15 minutes ago would have been a good trade. If you're all about conservative profit taking, I get it. And I think that, you either have your own formula or your own risk tolerance. I think there's a lot to be said for just taking the money and running if you're a new trader. So maybe 880, a 20-point target for you on 3 or 4 micros. That makes sense to me. Oh, hey, Papa Kilo. Yep. We are dual broadcasting in the YouTube arena and the Simpler Room. Yeah, exactly, Jack. So 880, even though that's like, my first target really, it's also the launching pad. So in line with what you were saying about pivot points. So right now, no conviction just yet. Let's go back to that 3-tier time frame setup. And we'll take a look at, do we have any squeezes on the 1, the 5, or the 10 minute? Glenn, I know a lot of people that use the auto break even. So by all means, if that's something that you feel like you need to do, I support it. Yeah, Jack, no, just the dip, no squeezes so far. And we haven't really had negative ticks at all. But whenever we had 1,400 ticks and 1,100 ticks and the market wasn't going up, that was not incredibly bullish from where we were standing, which was around 910 and 920 area. So that's, it makes sense for this to kind of slow down. But now on this 1 minute, we have bullish momentum on the Squeeze Pro histogram. You can see that here highlighted on the left-hand side of your screen. We are trying to bring back the 5 minute to the reversion to the mean, which would be 890 area. And so if we can break through that, if this micro squeeze can turn into maybe a regular squeeze and we can start looking a little bit more bullish, then maybe we break on through to the other side. It's a Doors reference for all my millennials out there. You better know who the Doors are, by the way. 890 would be a good pivot point for us to go higher into 900. And that's what I'm thinking is. So just kind of, I just wanted to buy the dip. I know that my generation is aware of all the great music from the 60s, 70s. I mean, here we can in the 80s, the 90s. I feel I'm not certain about the younger generations. We got to get them up to school on that era of music as fast as possible. Because the stuff that's coming out today is trash. I say that jokingly. All right, Darren. Bob Smo, good to see you. Sweet. Yeah, everyone just getting a feel for this market. Awesome. Awesome. And I wouldn't, hey, this morning I wouldn't have been surprised if we did trade down to 830 or 840. We would have bought that dip. And if you want to jump out now, by all means. At this point, it's just kind of fun, right? So 4 contracts, $200, start out the week. You're already up, and this could trade for maybe if you're an options trader, it could pay for a vertical that you did on something this week. It could pay for a losing trade, or, you know, help you out in some way, or build into your account there. So I think I've had a lot of good success with these. I think they're super fun. I also love teaching and, you know, being there for someone new to this brings value to my day and my calling. I had a lot of great professors / mentors that really helped me out. And so now I'm paying it forward and passing it on and continuing to learn always. At this point, there's a lot to just, you know, just to throw at you, and don't think that it all has to stick. Just hang out with us, and I promise you, we will not lead you astray. We will not lead you down any type of wrong path. Oh, nice, Trisha. Your 14-year-old loves David Bowie and AC/DC. I have a niece who loves the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and all the good 80s music. So yeah, Glenn, if you did want to do the auto break even, I try not to speak on that because some people do that and they're totally fine with it and just walk away. And if their upside target gets filled, you know, it fits their personality and their schedule. For me, I could do that, but there's no reason to, because I'm here in front of you teaching and guiding you. Bevan, good to see you. Do I like the weekly breakout on SB? I haven't looked at it. Can we take a look at it? Our trade's doing great right now. This is nominal. There's no high fives. There's no high five in trading. But if we could get into 13,900, I'd feel a lot better for us reaching our second target at 916, which I think we do that. And then, by the way, if you want to jump out at 13,900 and not get into your target too, I totally understand. I leave it all up to you. I know where I stand with it. I'm going to be looking for anywhere above 920. Okay, once again, we're paying attention to the 1 and the 5 minutes specifically because the histogram is squeezing on a micro level right now, but you can also see on the 5 minute in the middle of your screen that the histogram has now turned higher. And now we are above that 5 minute reversion to the mean in the middle of your screen exactly. So we've poked above that. We literally bought the most perfect lows, with the exception of all of my friends that got filled at 850. And now we're looking for target 2 at 916. And if we trade above 920, I'm going to just have to leave this on and go into 940. But right now, you know, if you took the trade, you're up almost $400 for the beginning of your week. And this is why I stick to what I do. I stick to, you know, not trading the morning 15 minutes, letting the market kind of give me an idea of what it's doing. Now, anything could happen. I think so we just hit target 2, 916. If you want to jump out here, that's fine. Just remember that 920, okay, here we are, 920. Now that micro squeeze on the 1 minute is starting to fire. So now we have not only our first target, our second target, we are 15 points away from our third target. Let's take another collective sip of coffee here. It is Monday, by all means. Okay, so I'm just going to ask the general universal question here is, are you out at target 2? If so, congrats. If you're not, look for target 3 above 920 if we can trade it. And I think we're looking solid. So, yeah, I mean, once we've hit target 2, I know a lot of y'all will already just kind of jump out because target 2 is really, I tried to bring it up a little bit. I think it's conservative. I think 940 does play into today, especially after us just literally buying the dip. And the market didn't roll over at all, and now we're approaching, previous highs from not only this morning, but last week now. Yeah, and if you want to be long in TLT, I like bonds long right here as well. Nice. So a lot of y'all are getting out of the trade. Nice job, y'all. A little discipline. Nice. I'm seeing y'all getting out at 920, 916. You're keeping 2, Jack. Nice. Taking 2 off and keeping 2. Nice. Corey, flat. Good stuff. Let's check on YouTube. Jennifer. Oh, I think just being calm comes with time and doing this a long time. I paid my trader tuition a long time ago, and quick too. I mean, I knew what I was doing. I promise. But no, I've definitely learned the lessons the hardest way possible. Hey, Zubin. So the question is, why did I choose to go with the NASDAQ and not the S&Ps, which look stronger at the open? I say either one. What I just do is I pick one, and if I have a setup, then I'll go for it. But typically it's the NASDAQ, and it can be the S&P. It totally can. It's I think today would have been just fine for that anyway. Absolutely. Twitchy, that's funny. You probably did. I mean, I paid someone else's trader tuition as well a couple times over. Welch, the skew is extremely elevated. Are you not worried about a rapid pullback anytime soon, considering the put call ratio is quite low as well? No, I'm staying nimble. I see it. I think that reading plays more into if the market pulls back like right now. But like I said, and if you didn't catch this in the very, very beginning before the market opened, I do expect this to be a very choppy week, and I'm thinking weakness on Wednesday or Thursday again. That seems to be repeating itself, and I'm going to just go ahead and pay attention to what's working and what's happening, and not just coming up with random scenarios just because I want to, or I mean, I have numbers in front of me. I just pay attention to the numbers because the information that I have on my screen is good information, and over time it's been proven to be very helpful. So I'm looking at the put call ratio. Yes, it started out super low. It's flattening out just a little bit. That to me right now is very bullish. The ticks have not gone negative. The VIX futures are not popping. So there you go. So we're already at target 2, exceeding target 2, and then 13,948. It's a little bit of a stretch considering the morning. And if you want to jump out now, you have my blessing. There's no reason to, anytime you're past target 2 and you like your P&L, I'm only staying in because now I'm looking at the 5-minute with green 10x bars, and we have a micro squeeze there. So, I mean, it makes sense to go to another chart that'll give me good information. And you can see right here, let me zoom in just a little bit. And you can see right up here at 965 And then there's your 948, this bottom part of this blue line. It's 949. And we'd have to break through 928, 929 first. And we're struggling to do that. That's why I'm tempted to just get out at my second target right here. I think that would be just a fantastic trade to start it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off 2. Let's just do this. I'll take off 2 right here at 500 bucks. All right, I'm going to sell that. It's above target 2. So now I'm just long 2 micro futures contracts. And you don't have to do this, by the way. But if we were to jump into 940 or anywhere above 930, then you could just take these other 2 off. We've already taken half profits. I think it looks solid to trade into 940. We're only 15 points away from that. Is there a huge difference in my P&L if I get out right here versus 10 points higher on 2 contracts? Not really. So, you know, here we are. I'm going to go ahead and crawl out. If you really want that third target, you have my blessing. You know, boost, turn on the rocket launchers. You got this. I'll go ahead and sell 2 more at 935, way up here, and then I will be out for the morning. And this is how I do every morning. I'm trying to buy the dip, and if it's more than a dip, then I'm out. And count me out. Yeah, and that's an easy trade for a Monday morning, and I do think that trading higher into 14,000 is now a strong reality. Okay, now I'm flat, and you can see for the morning, I've just done 500 bucks in about the first 30 minutes of the market. Well, first 45, but we don't trade the first 15 minutes. All right, so now you're actually back into target 3 area, 10 points away. You should all be out at target 3 because now what we'll do is we'll rinse and repeat and do another trade. Yes, another trade. And what we're going to do is buy the pullback. That's what we're going to do. It's on the menu, folks. I had crab cakes yesterday. I had 2 margaritas. I had a dozen oysters, and I'm super pumped about it. I want to rinse and repeat that trade every weekend on Sundays. I love oysters. I'm a sucker for some Eddie V's bombastic horseradish sauce for all my Austin, Texas folks. I'll see you at Eddie V's. My wife would be not happy if she found out I was going out to Eddie V's without her. But she's invited. Let's see, what else did we have? Oh, we had a filet too, 8-ounce filet. All right, y'all. So 8 points away from target 3. It's been an amazing morning. I think that 14,000 is now in the books. Pay attention to what David Starr is talking about and Raghi. They are amazing people. And then also Neil too. And then what I like about David, and I think what he did was he put up a chart in our members room of his thoughts and ideas for the pullback and kind of giving the overall situation summary. And I'll read this to you real quick. You know, we're tolerating deeper pullbacks towards 4,100 or slightly below, and this is in the S&Ps, by the way. And then short-term patterns kind of clearing up, waiting for bigger pullbacks for a new position seems warranted. And that's what we did this morning. So here we are. We're back now into target 3 area. And at this point, y'all, you're either flat or you're just having a closing order at 948. So we're all up. We bought the dip, and this is how I do it. So the question could be now is like, okay, well, when's the next trade? What are your setups? What's the parameters? How you made this look easy? How is it? It is and it's not. You know, all I can do is trade my setups, and this morning setup was okay. We're gonna buy the flush because being up or down 1% really didn't happen. We've just been kind of quiet, and we're revisiting those initial balance zones that I showed you on this chart. I mean, we just did a perfect touch of that lower low right around 850 and 860. And if I zoom out just a little bit, all that is really, really close to Thursday's lows. I was a little bit hesitant to choose 860. I was going to go with 850. But I think, you know, hindsight now, I think it was just fine. This is just perfect. All right, glad to see everyone happy on the YouTube stream. Awesome, awesome. And yeah, later on this year, by the way, I'll have a mastery. And so basically what you'll do is you'll come in, we'll be trading together, and then I'll have alerts and all this good stuff. And that's in the developing stages now. I taught a class last year in October. It went really well. It was a good foundation class to give you an idea as to how I trade and why I do the things I do, especially on this workspace that you see, the 3 windows that you'll see on your screen that pop up here in a minute. So there they are, and it's the 1, the 5, and the 10. And here's this. Hey, check this out. Wow, what a man. Okay, so check this out. The 10-minute chart has green 10x bars on the right-hand side, and we have bullish momentum on the histogram coming out of a normal squeeze from 9 o'clock. This to me is now just going to make our third target at 948 make it seem like we're about to trade back into 960, and we're about to exceed the morning highs. And I mean, we have basically now 915. So if you like this kind of stuff, stick around. You can find me in the Simpler Crew in the Futures Room. Later on, I'll have more details around my mastery once that is fully developed. And then we'll continue to just trade together, and I'll walk through my thoughts and my stream of consciousness. No matter how dangerous that sounds. I joke a lot. I'm a little bit lighthearted. You can just, expect that from me. I think it's important to make teaching and all this stuff fun. So, it's pretty obvious that we have a good time, and I love making money too. It's the Capricorn in me, I guess. I don't know. We'll have to figure out what the horoscopes say about it. All right, getting into some YouTube questions. Just a quick moment. So True Lear, for $500 a day, you'll probably be doing 4 contracts, but you'll typically see me stay with 3. And Thomas, you have the triple Q 338 May options. Same with the 4 MNQs. The Qs are 2x compared to the MNQs the entire time. I'm trying to understand that, Thomas. Oh, you scaled out of both trades about simultaneously. Okay. Nice. Okay, gotcha, Thomas. Matthew SB, I totally skipped over that. Not on purpose, and I think earlier I missed my train of thought. I think that's what this was. SB, I don't pay attention to it. I haven't looked at this at all. And so I'll be very brief. I don't know much about this. If I could have a little bit more information, there's typically, I see that it's up, but there's nothing I can do here. If you're in something like this, this is a, diamond hands this thing, right? And I say that, you know, tongue in cheek, but, you know, really, this is the first time I've seen it. You know, I don't do scans for $2 or $3 or $4 stocks. I think if you're in this, you just let it run. And I have no idea to what level that would even be. And I don't want to short this back down to the mean. No, 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 no. It's a good question on the YouTube channel there. No, so I'm not trying to short this. I'm just trying to buy it back. And I'm thinking we're going to buy this at 13,902 is the 5-minute reversion to the mean. I don't think we're going to get that. I think we're going to be trading above this first ATR on the 10-minute chart. So I don't think we're going to break through 916. I think we're going to continue to trade higher or maybe hit 910 at best. Does that all make sense? All right, my futures folks. Hey, Jackson, good to see you. Nice. So a lot of y'all are out. Awesome. Awesome. Nice, Jack. All right. Safe travels. Oh, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate the compliment. It means a lot. Your buddy's front yard is an oyster bed. For the Keltner channels, yeah. So if you want to check out my channels real quick, let me go ahead and right click these in Thinkorswim. I'll give you my studies, and you can see just, you know, 1 and 2, they're all based off the 21 exponential. So I'll click one here. In fact, even better, let me just click on the glass beaker up at the top and go to edit studies. And then now you can see the top 3 are 1, 2, and 3, all based on the 21 exponential. So those are my settings, and they're super easy to follow. Yeah, for anyone in the futures room, I keep on saying YouTube. It's on the Simpler Trading YouTube channel. And I'm live broadcasting there if you want to check it out. And y'all, let's go ahead and take about a 3 or 4 minute break. We run for 2 hours here, so we've already gone through the first hour of the morning. And I think right now what we'll do is we'll try to buy the 13,900s or 910s. I wouldn't expect to get filled. If you want to go ahead and buy the 915s or 917s, that's your first ATR that we really haven't broken through for too long to the downside on the 10-minute chart. Oh, hey, Capital Hedge Trader, thanks for being here. Oh, okay, Thomas, I see your comment there. You're trying to get some general guidelines on the Qs and the NASDAQ. So I've never really combined a trade there on purpose on the Qs and the NASDAQ, but I see what you did there. No, Nick, I don't see that. The $4 gap up. Or maybe you're not talking to me. Maybe you're talking to someone else. I'll see my way out. Yes, Rob. So we already bought the dip this morning, and everyone, I mean, the majority of y'all should just, you know, we hit all of our targets. So at some point along the way, you know, I was out at what, 927, 928? I mean, you had a really quick shot of getting out right. It's almost perfectly lined up with my third target. We hit 947.78. I mean, we were 1 point away from our target. And anytime that happens, by the way, if you're 1 point away from your third target, you know, that's on you for not getting out. Now, I understand if you have a closing limit order, of course, that's out of your control, but here we are. So the market's quiet. Do we want to buy 13,900? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That's the 5-minute reversion to the mean. And sometimes this happens where it's going to trade sideways for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and we'll just be prepped and ready to go and have a clear understanding as to where we are going to trade the market. So what I want to do is rebuy the market down here at 13,900. And yes, I'm going to be just doing 3 contracts instead of 4. And I think that should have answered a lot of the questions, because I think a lot of the questions as I'm scrolling through here was like, hey, what's the next trade? What's the next trade? Hey, I'm telling you, 13,900. And if it's 903, if you want to be super technical about it, you can. I leave it open to you. I just stick to round numbers, y'all. If it's 924.5, I'm just going to do 925. Keeps things a lot smoother. But yeah, let's take a 3 or 4 minute break on the channel and in the futures room. I'll let you get up, walk around, do some yoga for 3 or 4 minutes, or refill your coffee, whatever you want to do. And then we'll see if we can get one push lower to buy one more time. I'm seeing some interesting comments on the YouTube stream. And I have a feeling this is going to run away from us. I don't think we're going to get filled at 13,900. If we get close, I'll throw on my Tastyworks and we'll be able to see that I'm actually filled down at 900. We'll go ahead and put it on right now as a limit open order. I just don't think we get there. I think the lowest we could go is 910. But I'll go ahead and throw on those 3 open limit orders at 13,900 on micro futures. And if you're trading the S&P, I think what that translates to is, let me go ahead and pull that up. And this would be /MES. MES. I wanted to say 4192. And if you want to be a less conservative, 4194. But I think it's safe to say right now that that dip and the carryover above 13,920 holds. If it doesn't, I see a temporary pullback down to 900, and that's where I actually want to be entering the market. Hey, Jarrell, are you asking me what this screen is right here? Sweet. Okay, let me share it with you. So I'm going to go ahead, and by the way, my YouTube people, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my workspace. Let me share this. I'll copy and paste it. Share. All right, so Control V. All right, that should be there for you. What time frames do I use for the initial balance? Great question. Here, I'll show it to you. Oh, actually, I just shared the the workspace. So just click on that and you'll be able to make any adjustments that you need to. I'm going to keep mine the same way that I do. I have the 930s, the 1030 inputs, and then you can go ahead and customize your levels if you want to, but I don't change anything on this. I think what I've shared with you is what works best. All right, Bevan, you're asking about the indicators on my charts. Thank you, Lorna. Thank you so much. Sweet, sweet. All right, y'all. So the market's kind of quiet. You know, if you're just now getting back to your desk and jumping on in, you know, one of the struggles is, you know, if the market stays super quiet here, what do I talk about, right? What do we do? Hey, Stockwin, yeah, I just posted the grid. There for you. And then if Lorna, if you want to, in the futures room, if you want to put that in the futures room, just that link, feel free to. Yeah, Rob, it was a nice move for sure. Yeah. And we can do this. You know, I'm in the futures room every day from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock Central, and then every other Monday here doing this with you for the Monday morning open, which is super fun. And we've had, hey, I'm 2 for 2 for this session. Now it's my second session as far as live streaming on YouTube, but we're 2 for 2, and everything's looking real good. And what I mean by that is, you know, 2 trades, almost perfect. I know that 2 weeks ago, it was almost the same idea where it's like, okay, we're gonna buy the 860s, and we actually ended up dumping down to like 830 or 820. And then I stayed in it because my stop was slightly outside that area, and we just traded higher. And I don't think we even retested anything that was drastic. It wasn't crazy. So once again, just trying to buy the dip. And now ticks are somewhat positive. VIX is down. So everything seems nominal to the upside. And then I think we're about to jump into 940. So am I able to buy the dip again? No. Do I want to short it? Heck no. And what that does is, unfortunately, it puts me in no man's land. But after a good solid Monday like this, look, within the first hour, I exceeded my $400 a day target on micro futures by $150. So now I have a buy order at 13,900, and the targets are going to be just, I mean, my first target again is going to be 920. My second target's going to be 935, and then third target is anywhere above 940. And those aren't specific levels based on initial balance. It's based on how we've traded this morning. Because now the dealer has showed me a card, right? We've looked at some of the cards on the poker table. It's an analogy, I guess. And so now we can expect maybe a little bit of quiet trading into 10 o'clock, and maybe we get a chance to buy 900. That would be fantastic. Awesome. Glad everyone is just having a wonderful morning. Do I know the margin requirement? Yes. So on Thinkorswim, what you can do is hit the drop down arrow and go to futures. And then that gives you all your micro information. It gives you all your initial margin requirement for anything. I mean, you could look at Bitcoin futures, even though you don't want to, because I think the capital margin requirement there is like $250,000. Yeah, you can see this here, $180,000 for one Bitcoin future. Fantastic. You won't see me anywhere near that, because 180,000 of initial margin requirement and $25 ticks. Honestly, I think I'm biased because I'm not a fan of Bitcoin. I'm a fan of cryptocurrencies. I'm not a fan of Bitcoin. I think we're about to experience a divergence. I think all other cryptos are going to go up while Bitcoin goes down. Yep, I know, I said it. It's fine if you don't agree. Yes, Grupo, that is the squeeze there. Jennifer, good question. So you're wondering if we would sold one lot at the VWAP, would I add one if it went back to my original entry? Yes, Jennifer, absolutely. It's a good question too. And Jamal, no, I am live here every other Monday morning. And then you can catch Raghi in the morning as we rotate. Okay, we're getting dangerously close to 13,900. And like I said, I have 3 buy open orders. I'll probably get filled here very shortly because we're only 3 points away. And then this will be our second trade for the morning. All right, filled on 3 at 13,900. And I'm glad we didn't break for too long because that is... Let's see what happens right here. And I'm filled on 3 contracts at 13,900. And I'm going to have a stop 25 points below. So 13,875 on 3 contracts. And this is going to be a verbal call out. So, you know, whenever things start to move pretty quick here, and especially for the second trade, you know, if you want to follow along, if you're just happy with your trade for the first part of the morning that we did, awesome. This is more of, you know, hey, we're letting the market pull back a little bit. We're going to do one less contract. We're not going to put on a whole bunch of risk and eliminate the gains from this morning. And I'm totally happy with just letting this trade around 13,900. If we can pick up a little bit more steam as far as the squeeze goes, you can see this on my 1, 5, and 10, that the squeeze is trying to fire to the downside on the 1 minute, but on the 5 minute we don't have a squeeze. So what that says to me is this is a 5 minute reversion to the mean. Yes, it went down to about 13,895, 98. But the idea here is just buying the 5 minute chart, and that's typically what I'm doing anyway. So I'm super pumped that we're able to actually get 2 trades on the morning. Sometimes it's just 1 because y'all know that I'm going to just be buying the dip and I'm not going to be shorting this market for anything. In fact, I went back and I looked at some of my trades, and it's, I mean, being in a short, it better be short term. Now, if things are just completely lined up that we're about to do a major sell-off, 1, that has to happen really quick. 2, you have to be looking for it. And 3, you need to be, you know, ready to enter that position and know when you are going to get the heck out. Catching up on some comments here. Awesome, awesome, everyone on the Simpler stream. Hope everyone's having a good morning. If you're just now coming in, we bought the dip this morning, and we are in our second trade. It's a verbal call out for you at 13,900. I am filled for 3 contracts, not 4. We've already had a profit of $500 in the day. That's exceeding my $400 target every day. And typically on 3 contracts, it takes about, in this market, anywhere from 4 to 5 trades to hit that. And you can learn more just by following me here in the futures room at Simpler, and here on YouTube every other Monday. Monday. K-Mike, I think what we did was we took it out because we're going to refresh and do a mastery. And the market has changed a little bit from last October, right? I mean, last October, think about where we were. I mean, we had a extreme move in the market to the upside during a pandemic. And while I think the dynamics and all the money printing and all that stuff doesn't really, you know, I'm not going to sit here and throw out predictions for the market, but I will not fight this market until there's a clear line in the sand that this thing is, you know, is going to take a much needed break. And right now we're just not seeing that. I do think Wednesday and Thursday expect I won't be trading the Wednesday morning open. And, you know, we'll see what Thursday brings. And right now we're just quietly trading around 13,890, 13,900. And you can see, look, if I'm filled on 3 contracts and I've taken about 10 points of heat right now, that's going to be, if you just do the math, it's very easy. It's just $60. You know, that's nothing compared to what we can make to the upside if this thing starts to trade back into 920. And the reason why I do 3 contracts instead of 4 is just in case this market just gets really stupid and starts to trade and starts to sell off. Well, then we've already negated our risk by doing 1 less contract, and then we're going to have a tight stop at 13,880. So I will admit that I am a loser by taking a very small loss and not letting that eat up my profits from this morning. And it looks like that's going to be $100 loss if this goes down. I don't have my stop officially on here because if this is what we do, we just bounce off of 880. You know, I'm not going to put out my stop just yet. And if you do want to put in a hard stop, I would do it right below 870. Let's go back to that 1, 5, and 10. Oh, hey, Glenn. Yeah, so it's based on Keltner and Bollinger's. And you can add your VWAP in there if you want to. How do I set up the ATRs? Chrissy, you can see that here. Just click on your glass beaker, edit studies, and then click on the gear. And you'll have to manage each one separately. But all you need to do is change your, you know, your whether it's your simple or exponential moving average, and then you'll change this 1 to a 2 or a 3, and 1, 2, 3 really, because we use 3. So I'm just trying to go, okay, are we trading 3 times the average true range? Are we reverting back to the mean? And if you're looking at the Bollinger Bands, the blue dashed lines here, that's your second deviation on the 21 simple. And you're like, okay, well, why do you use the exponential and the simple on one chart? And it's really only to so you can see the Bollinger Bands. So they're just skewed slightly because the Keltners are exponential and the Bollinger Bands are simple, just so you can see that light blue. So everything's just kind of quiet here. I don't love my entry, but I do like the idea of us trading above 13,900 back into 920. I think we're just taking a break here, a quick breather. This market doesn't look like it's rolling over. And so back to the futures information. You can see that initial margin requirement on 1 micro on Thinkorswim is 1760. One on the S&P is, $1,210, And then the Russell is going to be your least expensive as far as initial margin requirement at $715. And I'm going to be trading the Russell this week too. Let's just see where we, trade on Monday through the midday. Short GC. The only short that I have on for gold is not really like, yes, it's short, but this is the only options contracts that I have on right now. Is basically I want this to trade lower down to 163 below 164.5 by Friday, but I can also use this as a hedge as well. Yeah, JG, that's a good point. Toss commissions on micros are much higher. Yeah, I haven't done the calculation. I know that Tasty and TradeStation or Ninja Trader are a little bit more inviting. All right, just going through some comments. So right now what we're looking at is actually strength on the 10x bars on the 10-minute chart. Okay, we might trade down to 873, maybe hitting that lower first ATR. I'm still not going to put on a hard stop just yet. I do not want the market just to come down and kiss my stops and then bounce off of that. So I'm just, because I'm here in front of you demonstrating how I trade, I don't want to just be in a trade and all of a sudden have my stop hit and then, the idea is just kind of ruined because I'm no longer in the trade. I'm okay with letting this, wiggle back and forth at least 30 points down to 870. Because it's the micro NASDAQ and, in this market, no stop goes unseen, right? Well, we've already seen that one time. The stops from last week are all hit on the dip, and we bought that. So we bought that this morning. And now what we're doing is revisiting this 8:45 to 9 o'clock zone. We might trade a little bit lower. That's okay. Limit your position size. I did one last contract. I'm 3 long at 13,900. And we'll just let this trade out. And we're approaching 10 o'clock here. So typically, 5 or 7 minutes before the top of the hour, it'll be just kind of quiet. So, here we are back into... If you do want to buy the market, you can buy the 13,860 just in case we get it. But I'm not going to. And you might get an opportunity here to do that, which would just be fantastic for anyone that's trying to buy the market. And right now, I'll just sit on my 3 contracts. And if you want to learn more about how I do this, just follow me in the futures room every day at 1 o'clock. But this is typical for a micro futures trade to take about 30 points of heat on a trade. So this one wasn't posted out. You can see my verbal call out, and now you can see that I am down about $200. Now here's the deal: at 860. Do we rebuy this? Well, no, it's going down a little bit. And this is why it's kind of wild. This market is, no stop goes unseen. This might be a point number 2 in the morning where we revisit some stops from 8:30, 8:45, and then bounce from here. So I'm going to leave my little 3 micro futures on and go about my business on the day. Now this thing starts to get really weird below this level. So if we get down to 840, I might have to consider just hopping out. But this is the beauty behind limiting my contract size. And it looks like, let's go back to this other chart real quick. It looks like we are revisiting 830, that pivot. So if we don't bounce here, I'd be looking for a bounce at 838. And now the NASDAQ is pretty much back to neutral for the morning. Pretty good swing highs and lows. It looks like we're not trying to recover with strength at 860. So we're retesting 845. If I wasn't long already at 13,900, I'd be buying this. And let me get into this other chart real quick to see if we have any type of 1, 5, or 10-minute squeeze. And quite honestly, this is a great, I like the range that we're trading. I like that we're making larger moves. You know, last week on, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, it was just brutally quiet. And let's see if Amazon and some other names are holding. We have a major earnings week. Let me take a look at earnings for this week specifically. So we have Chegg today. Chegg has high short interest, so that's interesting. We have Pfizer tomorrow. T-Mobile, okay, I don't really trade any of those. We have Lyft tomorrow. Let me see what else is happening. PayPal on Wednesday, Etsy on Wednesday, Twilio and Fastly on Wednesday, AMC on Thursday, Dropbox, Wayfair, ooh, let's check on Wayfair. Mark, no, what I was saying was if you want to buy this right here, right now, I like that idea. I have 3 small contracts on from 900, which I plan on holding on to. And if this turns ugly, I'll just hop out. But I think we're just revisiting the morning lows to stop, you know, anyone out. And there's a lot of, in this market right now, what I've noticed is there's a lot of weak hands, but there's a lot of people coming in here and trying to buy the dip. And that's typically around either the morning lows or specifically if you're looking at like an hourly chart, it's down here at 840, anywhere between 840 and 860. So I'm totally fine with just letting this play out. All right, looks like we're all caught up in both chats here. And if you're more comfortable with trading the S&Ps, we'll take a look at that real quick. I was looking at the 40, oh, well, I got to put it in correctly here. The 4192s, if you're buying those, you're also getting a free gift at 4190 or 4189. That looks good too. Quite honestly, I wouldn't mind putting on 2 MES right here, a little bit lower than 4190. I think I could stomach 4188. I did want to buy the 4192s, but a nice little pullback here has brought us below that. For a target above 845 is back into 13,900. We might just do this medium range chop, which is great for futures traders, by the way. This is actually a fantastic environment for futures traders, which is great because sometimes on a Monday morning, you know, it's I don't want to say easy, but it's not this, you know, if it's moving, it's either you're not getting a chance to buy the dip because it continues to move higher, or it's just really quiet. I remember that for our first session that we did 2 weeks ago. It was just very, very quiet, but we were able to buy the dip. So we shall see how it goes. Let me give you a quick rundown as to how long I'll stay in a trade if it's going against me. On 3 contracts, this is very, very normal. The only difference is typically if I'm sitting here trading alone and doing my thing, I'll have a 40-point stop on 3 contracts. And right now, you know, we have somewhat positive ticks. The market really isn't gaining any ground above 840. It makes sense to trade down a little bit longer before we bounce. And so what I've done is, you know, throughout years of doing this, I'm like, okay, well, if we don't bounce here, or at least don't get a 1030 buy the dip move, well, then I have to hop out. And is there another trade? Yes, there's always another trade. But I really need to find a setup that's going to be surrounded around a pivot point. And that lower pivot point is way down there, down to about 810, 812, something like that. I mean, technically it's 826. And I think we might actually trade down there. I would say if you're not long right now, you can be conservative and wait for this thing to maybe get down to about 830. And that might happen. Daily 21 EMA for NNQ is just below 13,816. Nice. Yeah, and if you have limit orders below on the S&P down to the 4180s, I get it. I mean, I understand. There it is right here. That brings you down to Friday levels. But the S&P is looking good. I think everything's holding up pretty well, right? Let's just go through some stocks real quick. Amazon, it's going to be, you know, fighting for that 3450 level that we're now under. 3400 needs to hold. Let's take a look at Tesla real quick. Okay, Tesla down to 690. I talked about that last week. Not trading above 700. I know that we have, you know, we all love to trade Tesla to the upside, but whenever it starts to change personality a little bit, I look for recent consolidation zones, and that's down to 660. Support at 13,794. Could you explain 18,320? Yeah, so just look at this chart right here. /MNQ. And it's right above 820. It's actually like right, and I'm just looking at these wicks. It's at 828. Nice. Okay, gotcha, Joss. SRG SAT, we already shared the chart, and if you'll scroll up in the chat, Lorna has posted it a few times for y'all. I would say if you're going to trade Tesla to the upside, wait for tomorrow. You know, let this trade lower if it needs to. There will always be an opportunity to buy the dip. And for anyone that was like, hey, I'm going to follow Jack and do these 3 contracts at 13,900, traditionally, I have to have a stop anywhere around 50 points. Right now, just as I'm teaching, and I've kind of let this one fall down a little bit more, just write it down in your notes, or if you're a new micro futures trader, my max is 60 points on 3 micro futures. And you're like, well, you should have gotten stopped out by now because we were just trading around 830 or 835. I'm leaving this on just because right now we're trading above that pretty well. Like we're holding 840. And for me to just take the loss for no reason is just something I don't want to do. But if you did want to have kind of a stable set of rules on 3 contracts on micros on the NASDAQ, I'm typically looking at a 50 or 60 point stop. I just want to let the market trade outside, or I want my stop to be outside the trading range. And I'm okay with stepping away from the computer and just letting this trade out because, one, I've already defined my risk with just 3 contracts instead of 4. Okay. And, typically what we'll do is we'll have a hard stop. I didn't put mine on just because I was kind of sitting here watching this thing. But typically it's going to be about 50 points, 50 or 60. Let's go back into, and we need to hold 840. And what I'm looking for here, so around 10 o'clock, it gets kind of quiet. 10:30 can be a point in time in the trading day where it starts to get bid up. So, it's kind of tricky territory for me right now because, granted, I would have definitely put on my stop, but I'm sitting here, doing a million things at once. I only have 3 contracts on. I've had a great morning. I'm going to let the market trade out and get all the weak hands out of the way. And that's, for me, and what we've seen repeatedly time and time over again, is that's kind of what's playing out right here. So we've also seen a lot of charts where in the morning we have a couple instances to be long on a dip and we grind higher for the rest of the day. Okay, if we don't start to perk up by 10:30, I'm going to be out of my trade and I'm going to take the loss. Why 10:30? No, 10:30 is just a moment in time in the morning where the market seems to get bid up, and there's really 2 points in the morning. It's 9:30 and then 10:30, and 10:30 was more of a time space for last year, and it has been this year as well. But, and then that says to me, it goes, well, if there's moments in time throughout the morning for the market to get bought up, why would I have a tight stop? And that's my argument, is like, why would I? Why would I want to have some type of tight stop and risk repeating, maybe 2 or 3 losing trades if we traded lower, repeatedly, and I was always trying to buy the dip. So I say less trading and more wiggle room, especially with micro futures. So less trading, more wiggle room. And that's why I have super wide stops. We wouldn't have this wide of a stop on 4 contracts, but on 3, it's a different story because it's really not going to eat up a lot of profits. And part of trading is being able to sit through what makes you a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah, RTY. Yeah, RTY is looking good. Let's see. I put in try. That's funny. RTY. Oh, yeah, there's a nice bounce right there. Yeah, that's looking real good. Yeah, and if y'all are if you have a set index that you like to trade, stick with what works. Like we saw small caps get a nice bid last week. You have a nice little 5-minute chart here trying to break through that 5-minute reversion to the mean. And then 4190 held up pretty well in the S&Ps. Let's go back to the NASDAQ. NASDAQ's not looking fantastic, but we'll give this a little bit more time. Goldman Sachs, Bexley, that's one of my favorite financials. I'm not just passively saying that because you brought it up, but Goldman Sachs is, I think there's a lot to be said for that Marcus product that they have, bridging over cryptocurrencies and real-time settlement and stuff like that. I think that's the future of financials, and Goldman Sachs pivoted correctly to get that all taken care of. So no, I like Goldman Sachs to the long side. Let's take a look at that daily chart. Yeah, and it has a squeeze that's already fired, and now we're back into 52-week highs. Yeah, it looks good. It really does. Good stuff. Papa Kila, that's a great question. You know, is it close for London closing? I mean, that's part of it. Okay. And just out of curiosity, does GS have an hourly squeeze? Yes, it does. Oh, wow. I might have to trade. I might have to sell a put credit spread on Goldman Sachs into Friday. And do we have earnings on Goldman Sachs? I thought that financials already kicked us off with earnings a couple weeks ago. Yeah. So on the 14th, here we are. I'm going to move this up. Confirmation of your conviction. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, so the market's quiet to down right now. It looks like we're trying to bounce off of these lower levels on the hourly chart. I wanted to bring this up for you. Okay, well, check this out. So wow, look at this. So if we don't bounce right here, this is not going to be something that I'm going to be sticking around for. But you can see off of this chart right here, you know, now you can buy this thing. We've hit that pivot level, 800, 802. It's a little bit more severe than what I wanted to walk through. But y'all don't worry about me. I'm fine. There's, as far as this market goes, this is expected. 803 is our low from this morning. That's a little bit lower than 820. Let's check on our market internals. Not really super negative here. And the put call ratio at 0.5 now. VIX futures, not really popping there. Let's keep an eye on the S&Ps. Are y'all buying those 4180s or 4185s? I kind of like that trade. I like the S&Ps right now holding pretty well. The NASDAQ needs to hold. Was there any sign of the second NASDAQ would go lower instead of higher? Trying to understand. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that we're trading a pretty wild morning, and we're trying our best to hold on to this 800. This is why Monday is kind of tricky, especially after the first 15 minutes. We wanted to see this to continue to push higher, and it really took us for a wild swing. Yeah, there is a NASDAQ tick that's a tick/Q. All right, let's see here. Yeah, weird place for sure. I'm seeing that in the YouTube stream. Jody, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Weird price action with respect to tick action. Absolutely. In fact, sometimes it's a joke, but it's a way of saying that the ticks are broken, right? They're not actually broken. It's just, you know, with that little bit of a pullback in the NASDAQ, the ticks didn't really go negative. And the put call ratio is starting to kind of perk up just a little bit. This might be the flush of the morning. And the YM is holding well. Let's take a look. So Connor, with the negative ticks going down to negative 855 on tick Q, right now, so what you need to do is if you're using tick Qs, a extreme reading is in the 2000 level. And right now it's just kind of quiet. And just keeping an eye on some other names. Amazon, okay, 3400 needs to hold. Let's take a look at JPM. And you know what? Let's go into high options volume. Let's do tech sector here. And I'll bring this up for you. Technology. FLDS, PayX. Yeah, there's nothing really sticking out that's just super weak. Let's do high options volume and see where that takes us. TGT, Goldman Sachs is up 1%. The S&P, SPX is up 15 points. Let's see what else. Walmart is up. Ooh, let's take a look at Walmart. Does it have a squeeze? Yeah, Walmart has a daily squeeze. And do we have earnings for Walmart? A dividend on 5/6. So 3 days out for dividend on Walmart. Ooh, it's a tough trade. Yeah, if you're using tick cues, you know, just know that your really extreme readings are in the 2000s. TGT. Man, Target's looking real good. Wow. And let me see what the daily squeeze looks like. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a good chart. I haven't traded Target at all this year. But that squeeze looks really solid. It looks good. Yeah, no, I'm still in Nasdaq. I wouldn't be if I would have put in my 50-point stop, and that would have been fine. I think that right now what we're doing is trading quietly above 800. Now, if this thing starts to get real ugly, I've basically just had a scratch for the morning. I would typically not have a scratch because I would have been out of my position. But I was sitting here going through some ideas and looking at other things, and I don't mind having this on as a hedge. I'm putting on some long contracts on the market and a short on the Qs just in case this continues. But I'm all about letting this, trade and letting it figure itself out. And if I need to hop out, if this starts to get ugly below 800, yes, it makes sense for me to hop out. Right now, I'm just giving it one last fighting chance. Do, 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 do. Let's take a look at YM. SM. Yeah, so that's why I just did a verbal call out. So on the second trade of the morning, it's not my favorite, and I didn't want to do 4 contracts. And, for me, I verbally expressed a 50-point or a 60-point stop. I know that most people that have been trading micro futures, you probably put yours on. I'll just hop out of mine and continue to trade this afternoon. But 100 points on the NASDAQ is really not a lot. And let's see, 13,000. Yeah, pretty much 13,800. If we don't hold right here, then unfortunate for me that I'll just have to hop out. But, this is good training for anyone that's new. Todd. Well, it's subjective, right, Todd? So like if you have a small account and you're just trading 3 contracts, then this, obviously not perfect at all. But, this is why we have stops, and looser stops is worked great. Let's see what the S&Ps are doing real quick. 4189 in the S&Ps. Interesting. Let's look at a 5-minute chart. Yeah, for anyone trying to buy the S&Ps down at 4183, you might get your chance. Yeah, and by the way, y'all, this is a personal thing for me. I can only, guide you towards where you should have your stops. 50 points away is typically my comfort zone, but I've held 3 micro futures on the NASDAQ for more than 100-point difference. Like, this is nothing new to me. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. For y'all, the stops were 850, 860 at the 900 entry on 3 contracts. And then let's see what this chart says. I mean, we're just going right back down to that range at 13,800. And let me catch up on. All right, looks like we're good on the simpler YouTube. Cabo Matt. And one thing that I talked about in my class was like if you're in a trade and let's just say you didn't have a stop and you're down 100 points, like I am. So this hardly ever happens to me because I actually do have a 50-point stop on. I know that on Mondays we can see wild swings, and I just want to demonstrate, like, one, you can hear me talking about this. You can see how I'm kind of navigating, how I can picture myself. Either do I have to jump out here, or can I let this take a break and then ultimately start to push higher around 10:30? That's what I'll be looking for. If we don't push higher within at least 20 minutes from now, ideally I want to be trading above 820 as soon as possible, to give me a little bit more of a confirmation that we've come down, hit those stops, and now we're pushing higher. Right now we're just not getting that, and the market's not really trying to fight, you know, too much lower. And it seems to be trading a little bit above 13,800 and not really doing much. It's all about your risk tolerance, right? So in my class last October, I talked about having a 100-point stop, and that was because the volatile market was giving us 100-point swings within 30 minutes to an hour. I mean, sometimes less than that, let's be honest. So, you know, one, it's a magic mix of understanding how volatile the market can get, how crazy the dip can be. But over time, what I've learned is patience. And, you know, would I be much happier being out at 860? Absolutely. But as I'm teaching you this, I think this is a good example to run through my thoughts and ideas and why I give this market a little bit more of a buffer or a little bit more wiggle room on such low amount of contracts. And right now the ticks are not super negative. We have all red on my NASDAQ contract, or on the 10x bars, and it's not showing signs of life. So I will just have to jump out and call it a day if we don't push higher. Makes sense to do a little bit more of a dip here. And I'm going to go ahead and get out for a full loss at 13,780. And I'll go ahead and put in that right now if I have to. 780 and 3. So I am going to be officially out at 13,780. And to give up this morning's trade plus some, but I will look for an afternoon trade with y'all at 1 o'clock. And let's see what happens here. This is a fine example as to why you want your stops always to not exceed, you know, on 3 contracts, or especially on 4 contracts. You wouldn't ever want to have on 4 contracts a stop that's more than 30 points away. All right, so I'm officially out, and I will look to buy this as soon as possible. If we can get one more flush down to that next pivot zone, let me see where that is. What chart is that in? There it is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy the 754s, the 13,754, and just do 3 contracts there. But if this starts to break below 13,755, then that starts to paint a picture down to 13,710, and I wouldn't mind buying that either. We'll buy the dip. He is selling the bottom. No, there's no time decay on futures. We call it theta decay in the options world. And I'm just about out of time. So if any of y'all took the first trade, awesome. If you didn't take the second trade, that's great too. You would have had a stop. I'm the sucker here, right? But I'm okay with that because I'm going to walk you through everything that is capable of happening. And I wouldn't be surprised if this gets bought up. I think 13,775, even though it is kind of in no man's land, 13,754 could be my next entry for a long on 3 micros. And I typically don't do 2 trades in the morning. I typically just do one around 8:45, and then I start to trade a little bit more around 10:30. And so I'm just really trying to collect more information based on initial balance and based on the 10x bars and the squeeze, which is this. And by the way, if you're asking about the workspace there, just scroll up. It's been shared a couple times. And it looks like I'm all caught up on comments here in the Simpler YouTube channel. And then as far as the futures room, I'll see y'all at 1 o'clock. And I'm going to hop over to the training room, and I'll see you over there. I'm out, and unfortunately that took away my gains from this morning. That's okay. And then the training room, I think we'll talk about buying this down at 13.7. Anywhere below, where was that pivot level? 13.754. 13.754 is my official low print. And let's change this back to ticks. And sometimes this happens. Like, I wouldn't have taken that loss if I would have had my stop. I know that if you're being a responsible trader and just listening to my callouts, you know that a 50 or 60 point stop is stomachable. It's doable. And if you can have the discipline to keep those stops on, but also have the discipline to have them a little bit loose on 3 micro futures, then I think your trading is going to go quite well. Okay, it does for me. It has for me. Let me be the blunt of the joke here and show you why it's important to have a stop, because the market's wild. I know that a lot of y'all are trading the S&Ps. I think that's great. I think there's enough to be said for a buy down here at 41.80. I like that. I support that idea, and I might even do it myself in the training room. So let me sign off. Good to see everyone. Thank you for coming into the Simpler Trading YouTube channel. Good to see you. I'm here every other week on Monday morning for the opening 2 hours of the market. And we'll see what the rest of the week has for us. It's been fun, y'all. Thanks for being here. Thank you, thank you. Hopefully you learned a lot of the things, and just keep on learning. In the meantime, I'll be looking for a buy-side trade if we push lower. All right, y'all take care. Have a good morning. We'll see you in the futures room at 1 o'clock Central, and I'm heading over to the training room now.